From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
I didn't quite get that. Can I hear that one more time? I'm serious. I could not tell what you just said.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
Still didn't quite get that, but Dr. Samadi went to medical school. He's been listening to doctors all of his life. Doctor, I believe the headline from the World Health Organization is asymptomatic people are not infectious. They're not going to spread the disease. Is that what the WHO is saying?
Yes, that's correct, Greg. Look, you and I have been going at this since February of this year. We've covered more than hundreds of these segments on Newsmax TV. The most important segment about what we're going to be talking about COVID is probably tonight, because they're taking a 360-degree turn, and WHO is announcing, and this is a big news, that asymptomatic people out there are not contagious. Remember, because we didn't know who would be passing this virus or not, we made everybody do something called social distancing. This is a new word that you've heard of it, and it came to our life a few months ago. We made everybody across the board to wear masks. At the beginning, we said if you have symptoms, you wear the mask to protect others, and then we gave in because CDC and everybody kept changing back and forth. We also made everybody to go for testing. We need 300 million tests the next day, or else we cannot reopen our country. And guess what? This is very important. It's a breaking news that if you are not symptomatic and you don't have any symptoms of fever, chills, shortness of breath, or any of those symptoms we've spoken about, the risk of passing it on to other people and being contagious is very rare. And studies like this comes from a very accurate tracing in countries like Singapore, contact tracing, and it's too bad that these researchers are not, the papers are not making it to Lancet, and mainstream media is not covering to the extent. This is probably one of the biggest news that we've had since coronavirus outbreak.
Hey, Billy. I'll say hello to everyone. So did you like that, folks? On the 4th of June this year, the WHO openly stated that asymptomatic coronavirus carriers are not infectious. And yet just the other day we've seen the bucket of slime masquerading as a politician, the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, this man who looks like a toad. It's unbelievable that he could even hold his hair up with the amount of hair oil he seems to wear in that fucking thing he calls a head. This fucking parasitic piece of shit has just locked down 2 entire suburbs, 9 apartment blocks full of low-income earners, people on public housing. Over 3,000 people he's just basically put under house arrest for a so-called virus which cannot be spread by asymptomatic carriers. So he's basically just locked 3,000 people down for no reason at all. Well, there is a reason. It's because, Daniel Andrews, you're a cunt. That's why you've done it, isn't it? You're a lying cunt. The same as all of the media in this country. The media, these parasites in the media that have been failing to bring the information to the people and just been pushing this lie. Why has not one media outlet in this country spoken about the fact that the WHO said that asymptomatic carriers will not transmit this so-called infection? Why hasn't any of the truth come out? Why hasn't the media been reporting anything about the truth? Why isn't there any journalism in this country? Now, what needs to happen here, Daniel Andrews needs to be arrested, he needs to be taken out the back of the building, and needs to be hung for treason. Every politician in this country needs to be arrested and hung for treason. And all of these brain-dead, 1.2 zero IQ'd morons dressed like Batman parading around in Victoria, keeping people under house arrests, need to pull their heads out of their arseholes and go and arrest the government. Grow a fucking brain and learn how to think. Because this country is going down the tube. You know, the whole world is turning into the Gaza Strip, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I said years ago, if we do not pay attention to the war crime that is Palestine, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And that is what is happening right now. Every one of the people that's locked down in these apartment buildings in Victoria, ring up the Premier's office and ask him to show cause why he shouldn't be arrested. Ask him to explain why the place has been put under lockdown when the WHO announced on the 4th of June that asymptomatic carriers will not spread this virus. There's no proof that anyone's even died of coronavirus, folks, because the tests are so bogus. There's a doctor that's offering $5,000 to anybody who can show him a diagnosis of COVID because the tests don't work. And they've locked down this entire 2 suburbs, 3,000 people, 9 housing blocks. How fucking dare you? How dare you, you mindless maggot? And ScoMo, you fucking bucket of shit, stand up and do something, or go and walk out of that fucking office and give it to someone with a little bit of competence. All this posturing and bullshit you're doing with China, all this crap you people have set up. It's such a frickin' scam. Everybody needs to write to Daniel Andrews, ask him to show cause why he shouldn't be tried for treason. This whole thing is such a fucking scam, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. It's such a fucking scam. These buckets of shit that we have masquerading as politicians in this country, I tell you. It's time to wake up, Australia. Because what they're going to do next, they'll come for these people's children. You watch. They'll find some excuse to come and take their children away from them to keep them safe. Because that's the sort of shit they like to do. Yeah, but I woke up this morning, folks, and I saw the news. And I saw how this has actually been out there since June the 4th. And I just thought, fuck this shit. You know, the gloves have got to come off, and I'm sick of being nice about it. You know, I've been nice and politely trying to ask people to wake the fuck up for years now. And this is what it's come to. And the media in this country, you disgusting buckets of shit, you lying parasites, Peter Kosh, all the people on Channel 7, Channel 9, why don't you tell the fucking truth to people, just for once in your fucking lives? Probably because you're all connected to the same pedophile club that the fucking premiers and prime ministers are connected to. I got a letter from Fiona Barnett as well. She's releasing her 3rd book. I might have her on to talk about these disgusting buckets of shit that we call politicians in this country, folks. It's time we took them all down. Make all this stuff as public as possible. Let people know what's actually going on here and break the lockdown, folks. Break the lockdown. Fuck the police. Break the lockdown. Fuck their rules. They're all based on bullshit. You can't just comply to something because some politician tells you to do it. You know, it's got to have some basis in fact. And we don't see any of this. So come on, Daniel Andrews, I'm going to ring your office up on Monday. I'm going to ring your office up and I'm going to ask why you should not be arrested for all this bullshit that you're peddling, all this fraud and bullshit that you're peddling. Why aren't you talking about the fact that asymptomatic carriers cannot transmit this so-called infection? Why aren't you telling the truth about anything, you bucket of fucking shit? I'm going to ring your office up on Monday and we're going to have a little chat with someone in there. I'll record it and I'll put it online and we'll see where we go with that. Bit of a rant today, folks. Not a happy man. Totally over this shit. Totally over this shit. Totally over what these fucking politicians are doing. And the gloves have to come off. Grow a backbone, Australia. Remember what we were. Remember what we can be. And stand up and call this shit out for what it is. And don't submit to these tests. Don't submit to these lockdowns. Ask why. Everywhere you go, everything they try to make you do, ask why. Ask why you need to comply with bullshit. You know? And anybody out there, you know, remember that stupid ad by that ridiculous fucking shop? What was it? COVID Essentials. Someone needs to make a slavery essentials ad. Make a parody ad. You could sit there with a little designer ball and chain, you know, put your own face on it. Little cufflinks, little manacles with flower of life on them or something, you know, just some designer paraphernalia for the new slavery system that's being introduced. Slavery essentials for a new COVID reality. Someone should do that. I'll share it. But anyway, folks, a bit of a rant. Sorry about that, but I had to get this off my chest. I'm sick of these fuckheads, folks. I'm sick of these fuckheads masquerading as politicians, and I'm sick of being nice about it. I'm going to call these cunts out for what they are because they're all cunts. They're all lying cunts. Daniel Andrews, you're a cunt. ScoMo, you're a cunt. All of you people, every single politician in this country, you need to be taken out. You need to be hung. All of you. You're all guilty of treason. And I'm disgusted at what you people are doing. I'm disgusted at the way you're just kowtowing to this piece of shit Bill Gates, where he's sitting there gloating over how much people are going to, be terrified by the next pandemic because he's got it all fucking planned.
Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia, they took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Yeah, you fucking maggots. You're transparent. All the shit you're doing is transparent, and I'm over the lot of you. It's time for the world to wake up and grow a backbone and get rid of these pieces of shit, folks. It's time to move it into a new reality, and all we have to do is stand up for ourselves. That's the only thing we have to do. That's all it will take to create a better world, is for people to simply remember that they have a backbone. Anyway, thanks for putting up with this rant. If you don't like swearing, I'm sorry, but I just have to get this shit off my chest. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Billy, come and say goodbye. Put us all back in a good mood. Come here, mate. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon, folks. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh. Hey, Billy.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
Issues that I wanted to, I've got a number of questions about people refuse, what do we do if someone refuses to be tested? Well, they can't now. If someone refuses in our facilities to be tested, they have to keep staying. So they won't be able to leave after 14 days. They have to stay on for another 14 days. So it's a pretty good incentive. You either get your tests done and make sure you're cleared, or we will keep you in a facility longer. So I think most people will look at that and say, I'll take the test.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
So, as I've said at the very beginning, look, there has been no playbook here. As we've seen issues, we've worked to tighten up. We know where our biggest threat is.
Good morning. The number of coronavirus cases in Victoria is growing at a rapid rate. The state recording 66 new infections overnight as the government tries to take control of the spike. We'll go live to Dougal Beattie in Melbourne. Dougal, good morning. What did the Premier have to say?
Well, the media conference with the Victorian government has just got underway, Davina. It has been confirmed there are 66 new cases in Victoria today. The Victorian Premier, Daniel Andrews, has described those numbers as relatively stable, but there has been an increase in the number of people in hospital. 23 have been hospitalised, 6 are in intensive care now, and around 10,000 Victorians have refused to be tested in those hotspots over the past week. Some of them are claiming coronavirus is a conspiracy theory. Now, at least 7 people have been fined by police since the start of those stay-at-home orders came into effect. 5 were in a vehicle armed with weapons, while a female from a hotspot was found armed with a hammer in the city. The Chief Commissioner says officers are taking a more hardline approach.
What are you doing? Excuse me, what are you doing? What are you doing? What's that?
Collecting the information regarding this COVID-19.
COVID-19, so you're doing testing?
Door knockers, are you? Sorry? You're the door knockers? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Are you giving the test? Yeah. Are you giving the test?
Where are you from? What country are you from?
Nepal. We're from Nepal.
Nepal?
Yeah.
So Australian...
Yeah.
Australian government hired you to come here?
The Australian government wants us to let us know what are the conditions of the people, the symptoms, whether they are having the symptoms or not.
Okay.
So, and just encouraging them to have the test.
Okay.
If they have any symptoms.
Can you show me a test? What does a test look like?
When did you come to Australia? You just come here now, this week, or you live here?
No, we live here.
Oh, okay.
I have been living here for 4 years.
Information today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe tomorrow the healthcare team will be here for the test. Just collecting the information.
Okay. Very cold, isn't it?
Yeah, very cold.
Okay, thank you very much.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
How much of Australia have you sold off to China? Eh? It's not even your land, mate. You're the custodian of the land while you're in charge. Now, how much of Australia have you sold off to China? How much land of our land have you sold to China? You criminal!
Specially trained officers armed with semi-automatic weapons have been deployed on Adelaide streets to better protect South Australians from terror attacks. The Rapid Response Squad will be deployed at major events and in crowded city areas.
It's a confronting sight. Heavily armed officers with assault rifles at the ready, walking through Rundle Mall.
This is a different look for the South Australia Police. It's not a step that's been taken lightly.
From today, 48 new specially trained officers will be on South Australian streets ready to react to terrorist incidents, like the vicious knife attack that claimed 3 lives in a park in the UK just days ago.
It's a sad reality that we live in a world where there are people who wish to do us harm for whatever issues that motivate them.
In this world of counter-terrorism, we need to have those extra levels of protection.
The squad, known as the Security Response Section, will be pre-deployed to big events and patrol at-risk places like Rundle Mall, the railway station and Central Market to deter and swiftly react to any potential threats.
Terrorist-based activities or radicalised people can act without any warning, so it is important that we remain vigilant.
As crowds return Melbourne, authorities say people shouldn't be alarmed when they see members of the new squad at those events, as they'll be routinely patrolling mass gatherings.
By virtue of the fact that these officers are armed with this particular type of equipment means they are prepared to use it.
The officers will be at all AFL games as well as large-scale protests, such as the recent Black Lives Matter rally.
Remember that these officers are there to protect the community. We are pre-positioning ourselves to be able to respond to any eventuality, and that means that we have to have the right equipment to do so.
It cost $9 million to set up the new team, who have received specialist weapon and bomb detection training.
They will be there to make sure that South Australians are kept safe.
Kate Lamb, 9 News.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.